Wonderful. So the man of the moment today is Karl Schlegel himself. Karl, really, really great to see you today, my friend. Yeah,
Great
we
to see you,
met
Scott.
a couple of months ago. Yeah, as a referral, as always. Aren't all the best meetings done by referrals, guys? I mean, that really is the way of the world these days. So the purpose of today is Carl's going to be spearheading this. He's the man of the moment. He's going to be taking us through a couple of exciting things. I'm going to hand over to him just to give a quick introduction, and then we're just going to do a little bit of networking, my most trusted style, so we can all kind of get to know each other. And yeah, just going to show you about My Most Trusted. Now, for those of you that know how My Most Trusted works, can you just quickly put yes in the chat if you know how My Most Trusted works? If you don't know what I'm talking about or Chrome extension, what's Scott going on about, please can you put no in the chat quickly? Because Cherie and Gemma are going to take out a 15-minute breakout room just now to show you that and how that works. So Vincent, you put no. Oh, good. Ellen, most people get yes. A couple of no's. Okay, good. So you'll be in a breakout room with Cherie. So if you put no, yeah, we're going to create a breakout room shortly, just for about 15 minutes, and Cherie's going to talk you through it. But I'm going to give you a quick overview on how that works. But before I do, I'm going to hand over to Carl quickly. Really, like Carl knows his stuff. Like we don't normally just do events, and especially recorded events that are going to go out to our broader network. So for those of you that aren't on the event physically, but you're watching remotely of this event and down the line, you're going to learn a lot from what Carl has to say today. We don't do events with just anybody. Like you really have to know your stuff. That's why I'm super excited to have Carl on board today. Carl, mate, why don't you just a little bit about yourself? Give us a quick overview of what you're going to be talking about today.
Sure, Scott. Thank you so much, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here. Today, I'm going to focus on people driven strategic partnerships. And what's really exciting is that we're going to take a hackathon style format where Scott's going to use the My Most Trusted solution and drive in real time like a pilot. And we're going to actually work with some of the attendees here in terms of being able to identify, orchestrate, position strategic partnerships. My background is in venture capital, family office, mergers, acquisitions, and technology. And throughout my career, I've often served as a translator between executives with challenges and then different types of solution teams, a lot of times in technology. And what I've found is that business really is a team sport. It's not something that you just do alone. That realization really hit me hard in venture capital when I was faced with being able to drive clinical development for a company that was pre FDA approval 5 years out and also publicly traded. And that's where strategic partnerships across my career and working with others, instead of reinventing the wheel, taking a look at what each other have, how we can create value together, have really solved not only challenges, but have also led to amazing successes and wonderful things. So that included a company going to the Inc. 500. That included even this year being able to pair a company in the mental health space with an AI firm to win top five in North America for the AI for Good competition for the UN. So I'm excited to not only share this with you, but to actually get into the weeds with you, roll our sleeves up together, and to be able to have a session where we start putting these together in real time with you. Thank you, Scott.
Oh, it's a pleasure, Carl. Really looking forward to this. And I'm looking forward to the real-time aspect of it. So Carl is going to use a lot of his knowledge like on the fly, and I'm going to be using sort of MMT on this at the side while he does it. And it's going to be really interesting. But the point is strategic partnerships, right, Carl? I mean, strategic partnerships, a lot of us, we go out and we look for that one deal, another deal, and another deal. But what we really need to do is build like really, really strong strategic partnerships with people that also understand the power and the value of those strategic partnerships. And how they come together is a lot more complex than we think it is. You have a meeting and then you have a bit of a handshake and go, cool, if you send me business, I'll send you business. And then you both go off your separate ways and then you never speak to each other again. That doesn't work. Carl has got an entire framework of how he takes us to the next level and how he takes us strategic partnerships and how you can generate the most value from them. And then what could be a $10,000, $100,000 deal, or even a $2,000 or $3,000 deal, the relationship ends up becoming a multi-million dollar relationship. And that's what we're looking to create. We're looking to create those 6, 7 figure relationships because over years, you can generate revenue and income from those. And that's how we're also working with Carl because we see Carl as an amazing strategic partner for us and vice versa. And we want to help each other get into spaces that we couldn't ordinarily do. And that's what is really the huge difference. All right, guys. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to spend 2 or 3 minutes for those of you who don't know My Most Trusted. I'm going to just get you a little bit excited and then if you put no in the chat, so if you don't know what the Chrome extension is, we're going to go into a breakout with Cherie for about 15 minutes. That's it. All right. She's just going to get it installed for you and get it ready. And then we're going to come back and we're going to rock with Carl. Okay. You won't learn everything there is to know about it, but you're going to learn quite a bit. So the purpose of creating My Most Trusted was to create the concept of paying it forward, but working with trusted networks. So if you look at LinkedIn, right? LinkedIn has got this unbelievable platform of billions of users, and we've got tens of thousands of trusted connections, of not of connections. But we only know a fraction of those people. So you guys probably have thousands of LinkedIn connections, but who do you actually know and trust? And then we ended up we making posts, and then nobody sees them, and then we get a response to our post, and we realize, yay, somebody responded to our post, but actually it's a bot that's just trying to impress you, so they can trying to get a meeting with you. Sometimes bots are now even responding to LinkedIn posts with words like, "Oh, this is great. Will you please connect with me? Let's have a chat." They want, because they know that they're not getting the outreach they used to. They're not trying to trick you into connecting with them. There's a lot of intelligent stuff going on behind the scenes, and I have a lot of respect for that. But really, it's that human connection, and we wanted to create a safe space where humans can come and they can connect with each other. And we built a technology around that. So I'm just going to give you a quick live example of how this works live. I'm going to share my screen quickly. Now, while we're on this call right now, it's actually looking at anybody else who's got a Chrome extension installed, whether or not they have it. So Dean, good to see you, mate. See, Dean's come out first. It's showing me that Dean's on this call right now with me, on the Zoom call, live on the Zoom call, right? Dave McFarland's on the Zoom call, Ellen Tyler. So if you install My Most Trusted and you actually have this on live, you'll see other people on this call right now. Okay, so normally when you're on a Zoom call with strangers, you don't know who they are. This tells you who they are, but it does something even more special. It searches their trusted connections for a match for me. So in other words, it's networking while I'm talking to you. I call it silent network. It's kind of like silent disco, but silent networking. Um, so what it effectively does is it's searching Dean's trusted connections. It's searching Dave's trusted connections. Now, Dave is a super connector. You can see on the trustometer here, he's gone all the way up the trustometer. Ellen is a super connector of note. So you're sitting here on a call with people with amazing, powerful, strong networks. You want to build strategic partnerships with these people. They're really, really good. Gemma, who works for us at the moment, Cherie is part of our team as well. Unbelievable connectors. So what it's doing is it's telling me who's on the call with me right now, but you'll also notice that there's scores next to their name. By using the Match Me product, and Cherie's going to take you through it, the Match Me section, I've trained the AI on who my target audience is. So if I'm looking to meet people in property in the in the East Coast of the USA, Jim, why don't you just let these people in? See, Francois is really struggling to come in. That would be great. There's just a couple of people there in the waiting room. And then what it's doing is there's Carl, he's on as well. Now, what it's doing is it's searching their trusted connections for people that match highly. So an 8 out of 10 or a 9 out of 10 or an 8 out of 10 score, these are specific people that I want to meet. So while I'm on this call live right now, the AI has matched people who are not in this call, but are true, genuine, trusted connections of those who are. So I want to meet Desiree, I can click request introduction. If I want to meet Drew, I can click request introduction. And then if I want to meet Shrizata, Cherie can introduce me. So I can sit here and I can go request introduction, request introduction, request introduction, request introduction. And I can book appointments with people by asking for a referral. And what we're going to talk about now is in the whole purpose of this is why would people refer you? What is the strategic alliance that you've got in place? What is in place with that relationship? And Carl's going to really unpack that. Guys, you can book unbelievable meeting and get incredible business from the people in your network who are known and trusted. How to tap into it? That's what we're going to talk to Carl about today. Carl, thank you so much, mate. Really, really, really cool. Just for those who have just joined us, once again, if you haven't put yes or no in the chat, please put yes if you have the Chrome extension installed, or no if you don't know what I'm talking about. I'm going to quickly build that breakout room. Carl, do you want to just sort of touch base for the next 30 seconds while I book that breakout room, and just kind of solidify what I've just said? Have I left anything out?
Yeah, no, I think it's great. What I like to say is I'm a big movie buff, right? And when I watched Iron Man, there was something that happened after watching that movie, and I started sketching out a new type of product, right? Because of the way in which it triggered me. When I saw what Scott had done here, I said, "Wow, this is like the heads-up display for being able to take a look at your contacts and your relationships and be able to map the shortest distance." to be able to get to someone that you would like to reach who you don't know. You've got some profile information and some data about them, and then you can figure out who you would go and ask. So I know LinkedIn has a certain function where you can see who people are connected to, but this gives you additional information, and it also gives you a level of how well somebody might know them based on the trust rating that they've given them. So this is like the speed pass for being able to get from where you are to that target client, to those target relationships. And what we're going to talk about today is not just the one to one, but the one to many of the strategic partnerships, where instead of chasing a market, you can have the market chasing you if you position these types of relationships in the right way, where you're both creating such a powerful exchange of value that you're racing each other to be able to get to the finish line, to be able to make things happen together.
Oh, so great. This is going to be a really, really, guys, this hour is going to fly by. It's absolutely going to fly by. So first thing I'm going to do, I've created a breakout room. So please, can you all just pay attention for 2 seconds here? Because everybody on their screen is going to be asked to move to the getting started room. However, if you said no, all right, and because, sorry, if you said yes, if you said no, you're going to go into that breakout room for 15 minutes. If you said yes, because you've already got the Chrome extensions installed, please don't go to the breakout room. Stay here. We're going to do 15 minutes, quick sort of power networking, getting to know each other. All right, so I'm going to open the breakout room now. So only go to the breakout room that appears on your screen if you have not installed the extension. It should be popping up on your screen now from the breakout room.
Yeah, that sounds great, Scott. Thank you. Um, it's wonderful for everybody to be able to share who they are. And I know in an environment like this, in an initial get to know you, sort of like this balance of how much do I actually talk about myself? How much do I talk about what I do? How are we able to do this, right? And I think what's great about My Most Trusted is because you have the data in front of you, it allows you to be able to target what you're going to talk about with someone in terms of the conversation. When Scott and I were first introduced through David McFarland, and David and I are part of a group that is invitation based, but at the core, it's all about being able to exchange value on a referral basis, yes, but really at the basis of trust because of a recognition that networks transfer trust. And when you have a high level of values associated with how you're choosing who's going to participate, we take a look at what people do, as in their business or their day job or what have you, as the third thing. We look at who they are first, and then we look at their fit for the community second. And so when you find those people that you really resonate with, the business opportunity is effortless. But I've also found that in order to get to the business, you actually have to get personal first. If you never get personal, you never get to really get to the business. You just stay at that high level networking elevator pitch, and you don't really discover what lights somebody up, what motivates them, what matters to them, and then how that comes back into the way in which they approach business. So I'm excited for the session today, but I've also found, and I've been finding more recently, that being willing to take the risk and get personal in the conversation, picking out something in someone's background and starting that conversation can actually take a relationship leaps and bounds ahead in a shorter amount of time, which can then also create amazing business opportunities. I found that with Vincent. I found that with David. I found that with so many different people in this room. So thank you. And Scott, I'm excited to be able to get into this next hackathon portion.
Absolutely. Yeah, me too, Carl. Strategic partnerships are just, yeah. Guys, I mean, Carl, you and I are an example of one that's been formed. I think we only met, what, 3 months ago, 4 months ago, and
Yeah,
we've put
four
this
months
event
ago.
together, etc. There's other people I've met, especially in Australia. Interestingly enough, it can take 2 or 3 years to really build a relationship strong enough before business really starts to flow. But boy, when it flows, it flows. And what I'm excited about, Carl, what I want to take out today from you today, and what you're going to teach me, because you really are a master of this. And like I said, we don't just put events together with just anybody. Is I'm looking forward to helping me sort of cut that 2 or 3 year process down, as how long it normally takes to build a strong relationship, and actually bring it down into a much more formalized process and get going a lot quicker. Beautiful, good timing. Look at that. Everybody's coming back from the breakout rooms. Um, Lovely, everybody. Welcome back, everybody. Honey, I have not forgotten your question. Cherie, you're shaking your head. What happened?
We needed more time. I was just about to show the message from adding a trusted connection, but we got it installed. We got the basics done. I just wasn't able to do more. That didn't seem like 15 minutes, but I think we're okay. Guys,
Yeah,
I hope we're okay. Are we all okay, everybody?
yeah.
Okay.
Good, good. Well, if you want to book a meeting with Cherie, Cherie will just put, I'm sure she's put her details in there to learn more about the extension, which is cherie.com. Just put it into the chat there, Cherie. Thanks. Which has been really great. And you guys can meet Gemma as well. Interestingly enough, don't worry. We know you didn't get everything today on that extension. There's no way in 15 minutes you're going to get it right. But what we did want to hopefully have it installed. And if you've got it installed and if you want to do your little match me, if you have it installed, go to the Zoom page now that brought you here to this meeting today. Once again, let me just share if I share my screen quickly, go to the actual Zoom page. Um, this boring Zoom page that seems to have no purpose in the world. And when you open it up, open My Most Trusted, it'll tell you who's on here. So just keep in mind, if it's not working, guys, don't worry about it. It's only your first time. Book a meeting with Cherie and she'll help you. But I'm booking at least 3 or 4 really, really good meetings from this already, from people outside of this, just because the AI has matched me. It's unbelievable how quickly you can meet the right people. But the problem with meeting the right people, right, is you meet amazing people that can be an amazing strategic partner, but then nothing happens because we don't have those skills. So, Carl, let's do this, my friend. Let's make this happen. If you've got your eye on anybody you want to actually pick up as a volunteer, I have 1 or 2 people I'd like to sort of potentially pick to volunteer. You're going to be live
Wonderful.
hackathon with Carl. But, Carl, I believe you want to share a little bit with us first. So, take it away, my friend.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think one of the things when it comes to strategic partnerships, a lot of people talk about this and they talk about channel partnerships, they talk about alliances, they talk about referrals. But one of the things that I think gets lost in that equation is what's the intention? When people talk about wanting channel partnerships, a lot of times that's code for I want somebody to hand over all their clients to me and let me make a lot of money and I will graciously pay them a commission for doing so, right? Major corporations like Microsoft, they cannot survive without the partnership model that they put in place. But on the other side of the equation, sometimes the partners are trying to figure out, well, if the partnership criteria keeps changing, how are we able to make this work for both of us, right? And so when we take a look at strategic partnerships today, I want to invite everybody to take everything that you know about partnerships and put it to the side and just clear your minds from everything that you've heard about partnerships, alliances, referral agreements, etc. Because at the end of the day, business really does come back to people. And with people, there's an exchange of value that's taking place. So I want to invite you to adopt an exchange of value mindset. And so we're going to talk about the wheel of partnerships, and then we're going to talk about a way in which we approach this, which is a mindset shift from one that can say me, to how do I actually make this something that's so compelling and exciting that it's impossible to refuse collaborating together. So I think that that's what we're going to get into very, very quickly. Now, the wheel of partnerships, I take a look at 6 different categories of partnerships when working with different types of companies, right? A lot of people start at revenue. Hey, I want more sales. I want more revenue. I want more sales teams. I want more people. I want more reach. And that's a great place to be able to start. But if you stop there, you really can shortchange yourself in terms of the rest of the value. Servicing capacity is another great one. This is an opportunity instead of reinventing the wheel, and everything we're talking about today is not reinventing the wheel, literally looking at the relationships, the companies across the landscape, and instead of seeing it from a competition standpoint, saying, where are there ways in which we do things so uniquely from each other that we can actually collaborate? When I was in the call center BPO industry, business process outsourcing industry, I once had a conversation and it said, you know what, if we get all this revenue, how are we possibly going to be able to service this? Or other CEOs that have said to me, Carl, how are we going to be able to do this? We have to hire all these people. We have to do all these things. I said, or you could go to company B over here who would love to be able to service your clients, has the track record, has the capacity, right? And then is able to actually step in as a powerful partner, which means that you can say yes to all the business that can come your way, right? So capacity relationships. And it doesn't just have to be in terms of a servicing, it can also be in data, it can be in other types of areas. Market positioning and storytelling. How are you unique? But then how are you backing that up? We're in an age of show me, don't tell me. So there are a number of people in this conversation here today who are representing different technology companies that literally take away the conversation from, I wish I could, I wonder how I can, to, oh, wow, that's turnkey. That actually moves the needle. And if your company is associated in that way, all of a sudden your positioning in the marketplace and your credibility and your trust transforms. And then we've got advisory boards and teams, right? Who you show up with. You want to get those case studies, and you're in the financial services sector and you want healthcare, and you have no one on your team who has healthcare expertise. It doesn't matter how many things you've done in the financial services sector, you're not going to be able to get the healthcare business. So a way to shortchange that to be able to get there faster, bring in trusted experts and advisors who do have those relationships, who are excited about what you're building, and figure out how you're able to then identify some of those case study opportunities because of the power of the trust across the network. How can you open that up? Data value. I believe that data value is actually going to change the game with multiples and conversations in terms of exits. But a lot of people are seeing data as ones and zeros. They're not actually seeing it as dollars and things that you can actually exchange for value and where the power is. And then valuation. If you think about exit strategy, this can mean being able to raise capital. This can mean acquiring companies, or this can mean selling your company. But now you start thinking about your assets and your business from that standpoint. All of a sudden, that opens up a whole different layer of partners that helps you to get to your ultimate goal, where you're going to be able to create the most value for your business, sometimes the most value for your network as well. So we're going to dive into some of these different areas, but I just wanted to use this as a framework for how we're going to look at hacking strategic partnerships today. I have another slide,
Fantastic.
but I just wanted to pause there just for a second before we move on to the next thing.
No, great, Carl. Thank you. Thanks, mate. Really appreciate it. I'm actually just looking forward to getting into the live practical stuff. You know me,
Sweet.
I'm that kind of thinker. Yeah.
Well, this is how we make it practical. We just try to keep it as a three-step process, right? And what Scott's going to do is he's going to drive. So we're going to pick a few people. We're going to say, okay, what is it that you need? A mentor of mine said that competitive advantage starts from the place of need. Everything in terms of business, need. What is it that you need? Then we're going to talk about, what are you selling? Sometimes selling is seen as a dirty word. But at the end of the day, when it really comes down to it from the business side, there's something that you're selling, something you're offering, whether it's an opportunity to donate to a nonprofit organization, or whether it's a product or a service or something else. So what are you selling? And then the exchange of value. What do you bring to the table, and what is it that you want? And how do you make this exciting to explore and impossible to refuse? So we're going to use these three questions to be able to frame how we now take a look at the strategic partnerships in the different categories.
All right.
You ready to
We're gonna
jump
do this,
in?
Carl. Fantastic. Yeah, let's do that. That's great. That's great. Okay, guys. So we're gonna go kind of around the room a little bit, and ask a few people. So a few people that I thought that can get some benefit, and also we can also start potentially with a couple of people that don't actually know Carl at the moment. I was actually thinking maybe Ellen could be a really nice person to start. Ellen, how do you feel about raising your hand? Am I physically raising my hand for you? Or are you going to jump into this kicking and screaming? Or are you going to go, yes, I'm in? Are you going to do it?
No, it's fine. Always go first.
Yeah, you did, because it's your fault, because you're so excited. You were in the waiting room for what, several minutes before this meeting began. So that's why you're in the front of the queue, so you deserve the rewards. Carl, take it away with Ellen.
All right.
Let's do it.
So could you describe what it is that you are searching for, what it is that you need?
I would say I'm going to call them a joint collaborator, somebody where their service is something I don't do, but what my clients need.
Okay, great. And what is it that you're selling? What's your product or service?
So I do either group or individual coaching, business coaching, and mindset.
And what is unique about what you're offering?
And let me make sure I understand.
In terms of the coaching. So if you got to a niche area where it's like you do this better than anybody else, what is special about your mindset coaching and the audience you serve?
Well, so the basic for anyone is I'm a product of the product. And within the area that I tend to work with more individuals in the financial services is because I'm very successful in that world.
Hmm. Interesting. Okay. And in terms of the exchange of value, what is it that you would bring to the table in terms of that partnership? And what is it that you're looking to achieve ultimately? Trying to make this as concrete as possible.
So let's just, I want to make sure I understand. So what I bring to the table, and I'm just going to focus on an individual, is that they may have tried other, I'm going to just say coaches or services, and they just haven't gotten to the level that they wanted to do. I'm just a missing piece of the puzzle. And it brings them a solution that they have and is repeatable.
Okay, great. And would you say that from the financial services side, are these independent advisors that you tend to create breakthroughs for?
Yes.
Or are these more institutions?
No, the individuals. I don't care about.
Independent advisors. Great. And do these advisors tend to work with clients on the high net worth side, or do they tend to be more in the, call it the retail space, right? Being able to service everybody, being that trusted voice that you can pick up the phone, but you don't necessarily have to have a ultra high net worth or a high net worth.
Yep. Well, it'll straddle both. It just depends on where they are in their evolution and where they've moved to. If they're too early and work with too many people, they're probably not a great fit.
Okay, great. So then when we think about this ecosystem and expanding, if we talk about these advisors, there are a number of businesses that are servicing these different advisors that are not necessarily in your space, right? Have
Right.
you thought about some of those that you would say, this is one that I would love to, because there's a natural connection between what you're offering and what they're offering?
Yes. And what I would say is that, and it's very specific because within the world of especially financial services and the compliance and the legality, they do have to have an expertise in actually working in that compared to just saying like I do SEO for, insurance. It doesn't really matter. It has to be very specific because of the regulations that they work through.
Okay. Okay, great. So if it was a company that was, let's say, building websites for financial advisors and speaking with a whole ton of financial advisors,
Yeah.
is that one that you could say, wow, here, you're speaking with all these financial advisors and you're building the websites and you're helping them to stand out, but these financial advisors also could use some additional support. We've been able to help them take their business to the next level so that they can spend more money with you, leveling up their services, their support. So do you see how there's a way in which a company that's focused on building websites, for example, for financial advisors might be someone you would be interested in connecting with and could at least open a conversation with?
Yep, absolutely.
Awesome. Scott, can you turn on the Wonder Machine here? And let's see if we can go and find some companies that are in this space. Now, I think what's really great is that this is where the power of the networking also comes in together as well. I know that in my network, there is actually someone, there is a firm that specializes in building websites specifically for registered investment advisors, right? Specifically for those advisors, right? But want to see the tool in action, and then the way in which the personal relationship comes back into play. And then what we're going to talk about is, okay, so how do we position this ask? Because a lot
Yes.
of times someone says, yes, I want to go and connect with this person. But then when they go and connect with that person, then they stop there and then they go, yeah, I want to connect. I want to have a meeting. And it feels all of a sudden unclear as to, this is why it makes sense to have a meeting. Here's what you're doing, which I think is awesome. Here's what I'm doing. And here's why I think that this could be beneficial for both of us. And it is worth at least 30 minutes to be able to explore.
Always.
So great. It's really, really cool. Well, so while you guys were talking in the background, I actually did that search. All right. So I searched, and this
Awesome.
is a very quick search, and this is just top line, guys, and actually find the perfect person for you to meet, which is Amy Jones. Now, once again, everybody, this is all that let's say there's what, 15 people on this call right now. If each of you have 100 trusted connections, that's 15 times 100, which is 1,500 people. So in other words, the It's the ability to tap into a trusted person's trusted people's network is so unbelievable. And Carl, I actually want to hear a little bit more from you and less about me today. So I found this person, but I'm going to go into a little bit of detail. But I'm so keen on what comes next, which I think is everybody needs to hear. So guys, the bit that we've managed to do is solve the problem of, okay, Ellen's looking to meet somebody that works with financial advisors and to put a strategic alliance with them. So I found Amy Jones. Now, Ellen is able, and she already knows how to do this because we're training her how to do it. She knows how to search my network and her trusted connections network to find more people like Amy Jones. Now, Amy is a lead generation expert for financial advisors. I mean, Carl, it's basically what you said. You talked about somebody who does websites for financial advisors. So you want to meet financial advisors? Well, here's a lead generation expert for financial advisors. Now, Ellen, I know you don't know Amy, but I do. Okay, so I can facilitate that that introduction now. But one thing again, I want to really reiterate this. It's not just about me looking through my network to find someone for Ellen. Ellen
Right.
is able to be proactive and search my trusted network to find people like Amy and proactively ask me for that introduction. So this is why we've turned referrals and introductions on the head. No longer do you have to wait and go old and gray and your hair starts falling out before somebody gives you an introduction. You can proactively ask for that introduction. So here's Amy on here. Now, I'm not going to do it right now because I don't want to actually waste 2 or 3 minutes showing you because the tech works. There's no doubt about that. I can basically click a button. All right. I can click the handshake button and I can introduce Amy to Ellen. And the process of that introduction is now going to be made. But here it is, guys. Straight away, I found a potential strategic partner for Ellen. I can make that introduction. Let's pretend I've made that introduction. Carl, tell us what happens next. Like, how should that be done? And take us more into the intricacies, if you're okay with that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think this goes also back to what is it unique that you're bringing to the table? Because you've got to think that when people are getting approached, they're going, okay, I know you want something from me, but what exactly is it in here that is going to be beneficial to me, right? There was someone that Scott had introduced me to who has an ultra high net worth client who's working with some of the companies in that network. And the amazing thing that happened from that conversation, he said, I would love to be able to work with more of the clients in that network. And I said, well, this person is in a very rare situation in life. And this is an area that can actually be lonely. It just so happens that in order for you to build that relationship and take it to the next level, maybe you should have a conversation with a friend of mine who has a fraternal organization for billionaires and is very unique in terms of being values based. It's different than Tiger 21 and a lot of other things out there, but it's really speaking to the individual's needs. It's very different. If you were to have a conversation, this might allow you to be able to create a different level of relationship and trust with your client, truly offering something, not really seeking anything in return, but yet taking that relationship to another level and addressing a need that is not going to show up on any message board or what have you, but takes things to a different place, right? So I think in a similar way, Ellen, what is it about the breakthroughs and about the things that you've been able to do for the financial advisors that become so human, so relatable, that even this person who's building the websites recognizes that there's something in that process that goes, this helps me to not only stand out, but this also helps me to show up in a more human way that is more attractive to being able to win the trust and the business of the clients.
I would say it humanizes the process in a sense, and it takes something that someone would think I'm going to logically follow everything, because it really is, unless the person cares about clients, family, community, doesn't really matter. Anyone can tell them what to do and have them achieve some success. And it will only make a difference when there's a bigger why. And that's the very first thing that I get to help them with. And for me, the people that I have relationships with that work in those areas, it's just a reflection on them for the service that they get to provide. When the advisor raised their hand to do that, they care about growing the business because they care about the community that they serve. And I just get to be another layer within that just in a sense lights up everything around. And so that person who refers it causes a warm fuzzy feeling to think that it all was stemmed from.
Awesome, Ellen. Thank you for sharing that. So, Scott, I think this goes back to how do you now take the AI enhancement of your tool in the messaging to be able to input certain information, right? And then be
Yeah.
able to modify that so that then you can extract the core elements of here's why it makes sense for us to have a conversation. Here's how I can add another dimension to your business. Here's why it can make sense for us to be able to explore together and then see where things actually are able to go.
To
Would you
go from
agree?
there. Yeah. But what's really interesting about what you've said though, Carl, is that you see we have getting in front of the people through an introduction is actually not that difficult. And in fact, while you're on this call, guys, look, you can see I've already posted on LinkedIn. I've already introduced you and Amy. So you've got a meeting straight away from this, Ellen. You've got a great meeting with Amy. And you're right, you can train the AI more and more to do that. But it's you also got to be careful because the AI is not that great. And it's only got a certain amount of information to be with. So it's very difficult for the AI to get into the fuzzy stuff, help understand the why. Is this person, what are they like in terms of their openness to potentially wanting to work with you? And some of these more kind of fuzzy sort of nuances. And that has to happen in the meeting, in that first meeting. So it's about how do you get that first meeting? And then what do you do next? And how do you actually take that? In fact, I think that's more important because the truth is, guys, this thing rocks. The tech works. And it's just here. I mean, there it is, guys. Ellen, you've got a meeting with Amy. Done. So what now? And that's where I'm excited. Like, how do you stop those meetings from going nowhere? You know?
Yeah.
And any tips that you can go? I'd rather maybe focus on that in the last minute or two. And then I know you guys might have to drop off, but I would love to do one more person as well than Ellen. So do you want to quickly finish off the Ellen and Carl, and then we'll see who else wants to volunteer. Put your hand up, by the way, if you want to volunteer.
Yeah, Scott. So just wrapping this up, I think the important thing is business happens between people. Life is all about people. So it's all about people and relationships. And that's why it's important to take things and get personal in a professional manner, right? But the great thing about the framework that I was just describing that we were using for how to approach these partnerships is you can also use that when you're having the conversation with someone. Focus in on them. What is it that you need? What is it that you're offering? Really get to be an active listener and taking all of that in. And then that gives you a better way to really position the exchange of value and where you can go from there. The other thing, too, is don't try to throw the kitchen sink in the first relationship. If you start with something that's small in terms of taking action, and then you can be able to follow through and execute, it's amazing. Like Scott, I can't wait to introduce him to my friend who runs a defense intel network that's 100,000 strong across defense and intelligence. This is going to activate that network, right? But building the relationship, that's where, and by the way, that's how we get there faster in the 3 years, Scott.
Yeah,
At scale.
that's it. Yeah, yeah. No, it's great. I mean, don't get me wrong. I've got some incredible relationships that I built over 3 years that are now actually becoming profitable. But it took that long to really build
Mhm.
such a close relationship with someone. But let's see who would like to go next. Is no one's putting up their hand? Come on, who wants? Anyone want to put up their hand? Anyone want to volunteer? Francine, you're smiling. Elisa, is it Elisa or Elisa? Is that right? Elisa, you're it. Go for it.
Alyssa.
Hey, Elisa.
Alyssa, great to see you.
Carol,
Thanks for joining.
it's great.
Awesome. So just to fast track this, what would you say is what you need? What do you need?
I need partners at companies who are interested in getting their workforce planning streamlined and making sure that everyone has opportunities and they want to increase retention, employee
Great.
retention.
So instead of saying what do you need from a partner, what is it that you need directly? Let's be specific. Is it revenue? Is it clients? Let's drill down there and get really specific as opposed to putting in the framework of a partner.
Sure. I need clients.
Clients, great. And what do these clients then look like relative to what it is that you're selling? What's unique about what you're selling that's going to fit a certain type of client?
Clients now are companies who are seeing that there's going to be a bit of disruption in their industry with technology, with AI. and that the nature of the jobs in their company is changing. And so in order to care for their people, they bring in workforce planning and career development strategies.
Okay, awesome. Now, I love what you did there, right? If we started with what do you do? What is it that you're offering? We get stuck in the definitions from Wikipedia and ChatGPT. But by being able to flip that around as what do you need and getting really specific, then what is it that's unique about what you're offering, or being able to get clear about who's there, that gives us so much more rich material to work with when we're talking about the partnership side of it. And what has been the major barrier that you've had so far into getting into these types of clients directly?
The major barrier is, I think, finding the mid-sized companies
Mm-hmm.
who have the budget and the interest to do workforce planning. So huge companies have their own internal systems. They have a whole employee relations and culture within their company.
Mm-hmm.
And smaller companies, like less than 50, or even in these networking groups, a lot of like 10 employees or less, are not necessarily don't think that they're in the marketplace for culture and career development for their
Got it.
company, their
Okay.
employees.
I love what you said there. Mid-sized companies, budget, etc. So, besides your own background, right? Who else do you have on your team that really resonates with that ideal client that you're looking for in the specific industry?
Well, that's my team. I bring in partners who, for instance, specialize in women in construction.
Mm-hmm.
And
Okay.
so looking at skills gaps in construction, how companies are building up their workforce in a better way to be more inclusive and to do the career planning for all of their employees that might feel sidelined.
Awesome. So, Alyssa, I love how you said you bring in, but sometimes the challenge is when you have that model, you got to get the client first and then you bring in, or you're listening to them and then you bring in. If you have an advisory board, so let's focus on the advisory board level of the partnerships. If you have the advisory board and people that you can already reference, now all of a sudden it can make it easier because there's strength in numbers, right? It's not just your background, it's the credibility of this other person. Maybe they've served on some association board, maybe they've served on some nonprofit, maybe they've actually been in that industry at that target client. So now if we were to think about who you're showing up with and how that gives you access and showing up differently, what does that actually then look like? If you were we going to stick with the construction industry, or were we going to go into a different industry?
I can do a better example for a different industry in healthcare, let's say.
Okay.
So we're looking at health equity, and Dr. Emmanuel on this call, for example, he's a medical and regulatory strategy advisor for the clinical research world. And so having Dr. Emmanuel on my board, looking at healthcare companies and helping the clinical research studies to design from the beginning, there's studies that are going to help bring in diversity and build partnerships and outreach networks
I love
to
it.
then get through to the FDA.
I love it. So then when we're taking a look at the advisory side, you could have Dr. Emmanuel on your team. But let's say when you're getting really specific about the size of company, the amount of money that they spend, et cetera, who else could you actually bring onto your team where someone on the other side of the table goes, oh, so and so, we might know each other, or at least we speak the same language. So now there's that ideal one-to-one fit. And when you're sending your marketing materials out, when you're actually making the introductions, things show up in a very different way, right? So let's use the tool right now to be able to use some of the characteristics that you provide to be able to say who could be one of those people that could be great for you to connect with. And then think about also, like, we don't have to do this right now, but then you would have to think about, okay, what's in it for them? What's appealing for them about aligning themselves on an advisory board with you that helps to be able to create benefit for both of you. For example, I found attorneys sometimes, or even financial advisors, but financial advisors sometimes have some fiduciary types of issues. But sometimes attorneys could have a lot of cash, they're doing great things, but they also want to be in the startup space. So being able to open up advisory board opportunities where they can serve it, they can have the fun and the excitement of participating in a startup, but without the time commitment and the requirements, so they can bring the best aspects, they can learn, they can get credibility even in that space in case they want to do something on their own, but then they can also be able to stay in their lane of what they do in a day-to-day basis, can be a great opportunity. So when you're thinking about that exchange of value with who you're going to bring to the table, what's in it for them, right? So did we talk about size, employee size, or what have you, Scott? I think you were driving on that. And I know we're
Yeah,
just
okay. So
last time here.
yeah, so once again, so always remember that the amount of data that you kind of have, and you've got a really great target market, which helps a lot. And when you started talking about, for example, construction, that got me thinking. Normally, I would need a few more minutes to be able to really kind of hone down the search, but I think this guy Pete Schramm is perfect person for you to meet. So he actually runs an employee connection software and solutions. And he actually has a software system that goes into various companies to help them with employee management, that sort of thing. So it's very logical and doesn't have the more soft kind of stuff that which I think you definitely bring as a kind of coach would have to bring to that. Just off the bat, when you take a look at someone like Pete Schramm, Carl, how do you feel about Pete being a potential partner for Alyssa?
So I think software companies can be an interesting one on the one hand, but then they might also stay at the tech level and maybe not make the personal human connection. So who can we
Yeah.
find that really speaks to the human side of the workforce improvement and the shift? I think, Scott, it's great that you picked them out from the AI side, but right now what Alyssa was sharing is that they need to translate between this world of AI that's emerging and the human side, and that she's helping to be that bridge, right? So I think
Yeah.
Right.
in
And
this case,
also, sometimes when I see people coming into companies with tech solutions, they're convincing the company that they need that instead of the human connection. But
Good
I
point.
mean, both is always better. What about mergers and acquisitions?
Oh yeah, definitely. We've got tons of these. I'm just looking at my network at the moment. I don't know if they'll put on the mergers and acquisitions, or they'll put M, or they will put M&A. Let's see. And you're only looking in the US, is that correct? So we've got a
Say that
lot of potential people to introduce you to. So as you can see, merger and M&A advisors, and this is all based in the US. Now, once again, the search that I'm bringing up here, these are all real people that are actual trusted connections. It's not like a LinkedIn search where you get 10 million connections and they're all over the place. Every one of these is real, and you can reach out to them. So investment banker, mergers and acquisitions. So we've got a lot of people that you could potentially introduce. But actually, interestingly enough, a guy that does a lot of these kind of things is Ernest. Um, and once again, I don't want to just spend time obviously on the search. It's really cool if we can find someone that might work for you. Let me see if he pops up. Ernest, I've got a truck there. Actually, he's in my, he's
I
in
think that's
my,
what's great too about your software, Scott, is that if you are moving in a direction, you do a search and you find out that that might not be the ideal fit, you can go back, you can refine the search criteria, the parameters, right? And but with this mindset in hand, right, by thinking about this type of approach, it informs the way in which you're looking at the relationships at scale instead of just the one-to-one. And Alyssa, it just so happens that I've been having some conversations with uh, the CEO of an organization that started back in the 80s with HP, and they're literally that's the space that they're in right now. They shifted from women in technology to across the board, but they're taking a look at that disconnect in terms of the workforces and where things go. And they've got clients like Lockheed Martin that are on board with them and others, and they're landing the clients, but they're building a community, right? So
Yeah.
you might in a relationship there might be something unique about what you bring to the table in the context of the offering that they are already having, and because they're building a community, they're connecting dots left and right, right? So that's where I didn't get to put him in as a trusted connection, but if you were in as a trusted connection, you would actually see him showing up, especially when you put in the workforce improvement because they've changed their keywords. And then that really speaks to the power of what Scott has here with My Most Trusted. And I've been so excited because it's taken it from guesswork to sniper shooting. I mean, like literally, you're able to pinpoint and then go, what's the fastest path to be able to get there? There's a whole lot of funds that have been identified for me that I just can't wait to have a conversation with, because I already see how many levels that we already have, different experiences, shared experiences in a given space, or can talk about the subject matter and where that can go. So
Yeah.
thank you so much for jumping in and being part of this.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. So what I would like to do is, Alyssa, I'd really like you to get a meeting at the end of this. Now, if M&A is a good target, people who are involved in mergers and acquisitions. So there's Ernie over here, which I think could be quite good for you. And like I said, I don't want to, we need to kind of finish off now. I don't spend too much time. I just want people to know this happens. But there's a guy on this call right now, Dave McFarland, who I know you may already or not know. Dave is hugely connected. And I can see Dave, for example, knows Tatiana, and there might even be a few more. But what I've done is I've looked at my second degree. Now, these are people that, in other words, I would not be able to introduce you directly to these people, but I know the people that know them. So this is who you're looking for. So the reason I brought up Dave is because he happens to be on this call today. I don't know if he's dropped off yet, if he's still around, but he'd be able to introduce you to Tatiana, for example. But I could make those introductions for you. But this is the beauty of it. So if you want to meet, if you literally want to book people in M&A within the US, like look at this. We've got 56 people that you could get introductions to. However, you would need to first be prepared to meet someone else before meeting those people, if that kind of makes sense. So,
Yeah.
do you know Dave McFarland at all, Alyssa?
Just from being in the same meetings with him, we haven't had a one-on-one yet.
Oh, okay, great. So maybe Carl, you could introduce them. It could be a really good one because I know we've got to finish off, guys. I know a lot of people have dropped off now because we've gone ahead of time. But does that make sense, Alyssa? Do you see how we can put those together for you?
It's
Yeah,
great.
absolutely.
Yeah, really, yeah, it's pretty great in terms of just the ability to be able to tap into that. Well, guys, I know we've gone a bit over time. Thanks so much for staying on. I hope everyone valued those people looking at my YouTube channel and watching this online. I hope you guys got some great value. And once again, Carl, thank you, my friend. Really, really
You're
informative.
welcome, Scott.
We have to start creating a world that is focusing on strategic relationships and strategic alliances because that's where our money comes from. That's where the revenue is going to come from. You can't rely on Facebook ads anymore.
No, it's so true. And Scott, I'm actually going to, this session inspired me. So there have been others who couldn't attend today, but I'm going to be having 1 hour a week doing these hackathons around strategic partnerships. So it would be wonderful to see where we can
Yeah,
continue and incorporate My Most Trusted as well.
that's beautiful. I look forward to that. And I'll put your details into the description of on the channel as well, if anyone wants to get hold of him. Well, guys, thank you so much. It's been a really, really great afternoon for most of you, I think it is, or evening. Very early 2 a.m. here in Japan. So early one for me. And it's back to bed.
Thank you so much, everyone. Take care.
Amazing.
Cheers,
Bye, everyone.
everybody. Bye. Bye.
Cheers.
Cheers.